Welcome to 101 Scary Things No One Should Know. Life can throw a lot of stuff at you, and it's just as well to know about some of your options. Not that you'll want to try a lot of them, but at least you know that these entries are an education in intensity. So whether you're in search of the next great adrenaline rush or in need of an innovative escape plan, there's plenty to learn. Now, take a deep breath. Steel yourself, grit your teeth, because there's no turning back. Free dive competitively. Have you ever looked at scuba equipment and thought, this looks incredibly safe? What if instead of wearing all this gear though, I just, didn't? Well, you're not alone. There's an entire sport devoted to people just like you. To start, do this. Find the nearest swimming pool, hop in, and hold your breath as long as you can. If you can make it more than 60 seconds, congratulations, you're above average. Competitive free divers can hold theirs for more than 10 minutes, but hey, it's a start. Before you start training, you'll need to decide what aspect of the sport you'll be competing in, as your training regimen will differ. Static apnea, timed breath holding in a swimming pool. Dynamic apnea, underwater swimming in a pool for distance, can be done with or without fins. There are 6 depth disciplines, which differ in the method of descent and ascent, of which, no limits, is the sexiest. You use any means of breath holding to dive to depth using a weighted sled and return to the surface along a guideline with the help of an air-filled bag. The training. Fortunately, humans have the mammalian diving reflex. That means as soon as your face hits the water, you will start to experience a drop in heart rate. Your blood vessels will shrink and fill up with plasma to prevent your lungs from collapsing, and blood is directed away from the limbs to the heart, lungs, and brain. One training method is the apnea walk. You start by relaxing your body and taking a few deep breaths, followed by a 1-minute breath hold taken at rest. Then you walk as far as you can without taking a breath. Top free divers can walk for over 400 meters. This trains your muscles to operate under anaerobic conditions and to tolerate the buildup of carbon dioxide in the bloodstream. Hyperventilating before a dive lowers the level of carbon dioxide in your lungs and bloodstream, which fools your body into thinking that it is less starved of oxygen than it really is. However, it doesn't raise the amount of oxygen, so most free divers only take 3 or 4 oxygenating breaths before a dive. Always train and dive with a friend. Diving alone is the main cause of serious accidents. If you black out, you need a friend to drag you back to the surface and give you the kiss of life. 2. Escape from prison. Only consider a jailbreak if you are on death row or serving a life sentence with little chance of parole. Otherwise, you would be wiser to do your time. It is worth considering the consequence of a failed escape attempt, solitary confinement, an increase in your sentence, or drowning in the freezing waters off whatever godforsaken prison island you've managed to get yourself stuck on. Methods of escape. If you are disorganized or lack the necessary temperament to plan and execute a getaway over several months, you are more suited to an opportunistic escape, a door left unlocked, a faulty electric perimeter fence, etc. However, you may have to wait a long time for such an opportunity to present itself, time better spent tunneling a hole behind the toilet. Also, if you consider that the odds of one door being left unlocked are 100 to 1, if you have to get through 5 doors to reach freedom, the chances of all 5 of them being unlocked at the same time are 1 in 10 billion. To put this into perspective, you're 2 million times more likely to die in the first 30 days after total knee replacement surgery. If, on the other hand, you are a meticulous planner, good with your hands, and a perfectionist problem solver with an eye for detail, you should opt for a planned escape. If nothing else, your single-minded focus on breaking out will give you a sense of hope and purpose. Location, location, location. If you live in Mexico, Germany, or Belgium, start digging. They're among a handful of countries that believe it is human nature to want to escape and don't punish criminals for attempting to do so. Provided no additional laws were broken during the breakout. Getting help. Whether you dig a tunnel, hide in a laundry sack, or start a riot, most prison breaks require assistance from others either inside or outside the prison. Those on the outside, friends and family, you can trust. However, getting people to help you in prison requires considerable interpersonal skills, and you must be prepared to forego some of your luxuries, e.g., toilet paper, instant noodles, recreational drugs, so that you can use them to bribe other inmates or even a prison guard to assist you and to keep quiet. 3. Crash a wedding. There are 3 common reasons for attending a wedding without an invitation: scoring free food, getting laid, and breaking up the couple. Whatever your intentions, You won't make it through cocktail hour without a solid plan. Stealing food. This is probably the least ambitious motivation for the wedding crasher and may not even be cost effective. If you've had to spend several $100s on an outfit to blend in with the wedding party, it is unlikely that you can recoup your initial expense, no matter how many salmon terrans you manage to stuff into your handbag. If a free meal ticket is your main goal, hit low budget, low class weddings, and accept that instead of lobster thermidor and caviar, you are more likely to encounter quiches, sausages on sticks, and deviled eggs. On the plus side, there's no need to hang around for the wedding speeches. In a high-class wedding, pretend to be one of the caterers, because after you've spent 8 hours on your feet serving, you'll get to finish off the volume event and other uneaten high-brow food, of which there will be plenty. Getting laid. Weddings are a pressure cooker of sexual tension. Everyone's dressed to the nines, pumped full of open bar booze, dancing up a storm, and uninhibited enough to make some poor life choices. If you concentrate hard enough, you can actually smell the desperation wafting off the single guests. If you're just there to get laid, wait until the last hour of the reception when the married couples have all called it a night and everyone else is too sloshed to realize you haven't been there the whole time. If you've got some moves, stick to the dance floor and feel your way around, figuratively, not literally, to see who might be game to keep the party going after hours. If dancing's not your thing, just belly up to the bar and try to hit it off with a single wallflower before last call. Breaking up a couple. If you're a jilted ex-lover, you almost certainly aren't on the guest list. What's more, the wedding party may have explicit instructions to evict you on sight. If you're determined to say your piece, stealth and timing are the name of the game here. You don't need a full-on disguise, but even small things like dyeing your hair or wearing dark sunglasses can go a long way toward altering your appearance. Avoid any flashy clothes or colors that might make you stand out. Ideally, you want to get access to the bride or groom before the ceremony. If you miss that window, the procession is your best bet for sneaking into a seat. With all eyes on the bride, there's very little chance of being detected. Just make sure whatever you plan to say is short. Once you open your mouth, you've probably got about 3 seconds before you have to start running. Best ways to blend in. Hide in the shadows and you're bound to raise suspicion. Draw too much attention and someone's going to call you out. Here's how to strike a balance. Pick a story and stick to it. You can't be a long-lost cousin at 7 o'clock and a childhood pen pal at 9 o'clock. Move around a lot. The longer you spend in a single conversation, the harder it will be to keep your story straight. Do your research ahead of time. Where did the couple go to school? Where do they work? What are their hobbies? If you can't answer these basic questions, you put yourself at serious risk of getting caught. 4. Free climb the Eiffel Tower. The Iron Tower, completed on the Champ de Mars beside the Seine River in Paris in 1889, is one of the most famous man-made objects in the world. During its lifetime, the 1,063-foot structure has been visited by more than 250 million people, making it one of the most visited monuments on the planet. Evidently, if you want to stand out from the crowd, you need to do something unique on your visit, like scale it without ropes. Prepare your mind and body. Who hasn't at some time or other shimmied up a drainpipe when they forgot their house keys? How hard can it be to climb the Eiffel Tower? To get started, find a rock climbing gym in your area where you can practice your technique and improve your grip strength in a relatively safe environment. You'll also be able to pick up crucial gear like a chalk pouch and climbing shoes. Next, you'll need to learn to override your brain's natural, and perfectly reasonable, aversion to scaling tall, man-made structures. Head to the closest major city and beeline it to the tallest office building you can find. Take the elevator to each floor, stopping long enough to press your face against a window and stare at the street below. Stay in that position until the impending sense of doom subsides, head to the next floor, and repeat the process until you've made it to the top. The ascent. The tower is split into 3 levels. You can reach the first 2 by stairs, 347 steps to the first level, 327 steps to the second level, and elevators, but the top of the 3rd level is only accessible to the public by elevator, or in your case, free climbing. It will save you €17, barely enough to buy an overpriced espresso and croissant on the Champs-Élysées, so don't attempt the climb just to save money. You'll get arrested and fined afterward anyway. Tips for death-free urban climbing. 1. Cut your fingernails. 2. Buy some good quality climbing shoes. 3. Don't look down. except when tying your shoelaces. 4. Only climb structures that support a load. 5. When resting, straighten your arms and lean back. 6. Climb slowly and methodically. 7. Carry some ID or your dentist's phone number for when you get scraped off the sidewalk. 5. Chase a giant tornado. Tornadoes are some of the most violent and dangerous natural events on Earth. Every year in the United States, more than 1,000 tornadoes spring up. Many of them amount to nothing, while others tear across the landscape for hours, causing mayhem and destruction. A few really rare tornadoes obliterate whole communities. Next summer, take a 3-week vacation in the Central Plains and go storm chasing. What is a tornado? Tornadoes are rotating columns of air that extend from the ground to the cumulonimbus clouds in the sky. Warm, humid air at ground level spins as it rises and meets colder air higher up. Combine this with a large rotating thunderstorm, supercell, overhead and you've got the conditions for a killer tornado. About 1 in 1,000 thunderstorms become supercells, and 2 in 6 of those generate a tornado. You need to know a lot about the weather, or hang around with someone who does, to stand a chance of getting up close to a tornado, and doing so safely. The Enhanced Fujita Scale. One thing you'll need to know about as an amateur storm chaser is the Enhanced Fujita Scale. This is the scale on which the severity of a tornado is rated on a scale of 0 to 5. An EF0 tornado can register wind speeds at as little as 65 miles per hour and cause little to no damage. An EF5 tornado, on the other hand, can register speeds above 200 miles per hour and leave entire towns destroyed in its wake. When and where in the US, about 40% of tornadoes appear in the Central Plains between March and July. Boulder, Colorado, at the foot of the Rocky Mountains, makes a good base camp because you can see for hundreds of miles across the plains, spot the supercells, and drive right to the action. Technology and experience. Tornado chases drive around in vans that are packed with antennae and satellite dishes, and they have banks of screens, computers, and other sophisticated devices to help them predict what's happening with the weather. The successful ones are also staffed with incredibly experienced people. You can't just jump in a pickup and head for the nearest storm clouds, because you'll put yourself in extreme danger. Don't chase tornadoes on your own. You'll reduce your odds of seeing one and increase your chances of getting injured. For your first season, try to hook up with a seasoned storm chaser. Many have dedicated social media followings and YouTube channels, making them much easier to find than in the past. Another option is to book a packaged tornado safari with a tour firm of skilled chasers. Be sure to research tour options thoroughly, and stick with well-established and well-reviewed groups. Chasing tornadoes is not something you'll want to go with the budget option on. Get used to truck stop catering. You will cover hundreds of miles, and the rest of the time you'll be sitting around snacking on truck stop food, waiting for things to kick off. On the road, your biggest dangers aren't tornadoes, they are more mundane threats such as hydroplaning, flat tires, or being struck by lightning. Most likely, you won't even see a tornado at all, just lots of rain, hailstones, and Twinkies. 6. Navigate a minefield. Let's say you're casually walking along in the demilitarized zone of a war-torn region with a local guide you presumed was familiar with the area. You're hiking up to a remote village and are about to ask how much farther it could be when an explosion sprouts from under his feet, and he disappears in a cloud of gunpowder and blood. You realize that you should have paid for the more experienced guide rather than trying to save your boss a few bucks. Now you're in the middle of a minefield. How do you get out? Stop moving. Freeze. Don't make another move until you can assess the situation. A hasty move in any direction could kill you. Look for a safe path out. The only path you know is safe for sure is where you've already walked. If possible, walk backward in your own footsteps until you are positive you're safe. If that's not possible, look for another path. You might see where people or animals have successfully negotiated a way through the mines. Stick to these if you can. Keep sharp, keep your eyes peeled for freshly turned dirt, tripwires, spikes, lumps, different soil colors, or other irregularities in the ground around you. Avoid these areas. Use an animal. If you have an animal around you, send it the way you figure is the shortest way out of the minefield. Then follow it from a safe distance, stepping exactly in its tracks, or as close as you can manage. This sort of trick only works once per animal, though, so take as much care as you can. Image fall back. Some mines detonate not when you step on the mine but when you step off it. If you step on something and feel it click, you may have found such a mine. In any case, you may have up to a second before the mine goes off. Throw yourself to the ground behind you, your feet toward the expected detonation. You won't be able to outrun the explosion, but you can cover up and protect as much of yourself as possible. 5 things not to do. 1. Don't use a probe to find a mine. If you're close enough to set it off, it's close enough to hurt you or detonate a mine that's closer to you. 2. Don't use a two-way radio to call for help. Their frequencies can detonate some mines. A cell phone might too, although this is less common. 3. Don't voluntarily detonate a mine if you're anywhere near the minefield. You might cause a chain reaction that could kill you. 4. Don't depend on a metal detector. Mines can be made of non-metallic material. 5. Don't try to defuse or disarm a mine unless you really know what you're doing. Above all, be careful. The Cooperative for Assistance and Relief Everywhere CARE organization estimates that there are 110 million landmines embedded in the earth, and an additional 250 million stockpiled around the world. 7. Pirate copyrighted files. It's never been easier to access music, movies, and TV shows from the comfort of our homes, but all the convenience comes at a cost. Streaming subscription services can get hella expensive, hella quick. Luckily, the dark, seedy underbelly of the internet has no respect for copyright laws. BitTorrent is your friend. Pioneers of peer-to-peer file sharing like Napster, Kazaa, and LimeWire blew the doors off the music and film industries, but they were just the beginning. In their wake, the BitTorrent protocol has emerged as the most efficient and popular way to share content. Instead of downloading a whole file directly from another user, BitTorrent users download a torrent file containing information on the file's location. When the torrent is opened with special software, the file is downloaded in pieces from numerous other users who have already downloaded it, or are in the process of doing so. This allows for incredibly fast transfer speeds, making it possible to download entire movies in a matter of minutes or even seconds. Invest in a VPN. Unless you're downloading and sharing content that's already in the public domain, you're breaking the law by downloading copyrighted content. And copyright owners are constantly monitoring torrent files to issue copyright infringement claims. The surest way to protect yourself is to mask your IP address using a virtual private network (VPN). The VPN acts as a go-between and funnels all of your internet traffic through a server that's located far, far away from you. There are a number of free VPN services, but do yourself a favor and invest the $10 a month for a paid one that offers unlimited bandwidth. Go analog. As the cat-and-mouse game between pirates and copyright holders escalates, the risk of fines and jail time is too much for some people to stomach. In order to minimize those risks, some pirates are going old school and managing their file sharing locally. USB flash drives containing pirated material can be anonymously hidden out in the real world and their GPS coordinates shared with other pirates to find, copy the contents to their own local drives, and then return them to where they were found. In 2015, AT&T estimated that as much as 20% of all internet traffic was a result of file transfers using the BitTorrent protocol. 8. Enjoy bondage. In its simplest terms, bondage is the use of restraints for pleasure, generally sexual pleasure. It does not have to, but can, include spanking, ball gags, controlled pain, role-playing, submission, and dominance, and a laundry list of toys, furniture, and other accoutrements dedicated to the craft. Bondage is not for everyone, but it's more popular than you'd think. About 2/3 of women and half of men fantasize about being dominated. If you're thinking of tossing a few ropes or a set of handcuffs onto your bed to see what might happen, here are a few tips to get you started. Safety first. Bondage, like a lot of sexual play, often features a healthy bit of role-playing. The one being restrained might be expected to beg for release and might be pretty convincing about it. To help all participants feel good about this, establish a safe word before you start. This word should be something that wouldn't normally come up during conversation, especially as part of the kind of talking that goes on during bondage. When anyone says it, the bondage has to end immediately, and those who are bound must be released. If you violate that trust, you may find it harder to find some play in the future. Start slow. Don't jump straight into full leather bodysuits covered with zippers over every orifice and D-rings for restraint clips. Go easy and see how you like it. Start tying each other up with bandanas and work your way up to ropes and handcuffs later on. Build trust. Find a partner you think you can trust and then build that trust over time. Bondage is supposed to be fun, so pick someone who you think you can have that kind of fun with, and then take your time to find out if you're right. Aftercare. Even if everything went off without a hitch, it's still good to check in once the ropes have been put away and playtime is over. Make sure everyone has an opportunity to talk about what they liked and didn't like about the session in an open and judgment-free setting. 9. Beat a speed camera. Every year, millions of people get fined for speeding. This puts points on their licenses and increases their car insurance. Fortunately, there are several ways to beat them. Obscure your plate. Simply taping over or removing your license plates altogether would certainly prevent a speed camera from catching you, but it's very illegal. There are options, however, that keep your plate visible to law enforcement but make it difficult for a camera to capture it. Many speed cameras use a high-powered flash. Reflective sprays, tapes, and license plate covers work by bouncing the flash back to the camera, making the license plate impossible to decipher. Stay one step ahead of the camera. Invest in one of the many red light and speed camera detectors on the market. Powered by a cigar lighter, they sit on your dashboard and make timely announcements such as camera ahead limit 60. This gives you plenty of time to slow down and drive like a model citizen. Apps like Waze and Radarbot are also an excellent option. When another user spots a speed camera, she can warn other users to slow down when they're in the vicinity or choose an alternate route. A popular myth states that the camera won't catch you if you're going fast enough. Unfortunately, it's just that, a myth. Older cameras might lose you above 170 miles per hour, but modern cameras have no trouble snapping photos at speeds no normal automobile could ever reach. Beating the ticket. If you do get caught speeding, you can still beat the ticket. When the speeding fine arrives in the mail, fire back a letter saying you need to see photo proof, because you can't establish who was driving. If cops can't identify who was behind the wheel, they can't make you pay. Just like the speed detectors police officers use, speed cameras need to be calibrated regularly to ensure they're accurate. Request the date of the last calibration for the camera that allegedly caught you speeding. If it's outside the window, you might be able to get the ticket thrown out. Finally, if you really want to beat the system, here's a radical idea you may not have tried yet: don't drive faster than the speed limit. 10. Become a mafia boss. Just as you would be unwise to attempt to hang someone upside down and carve them till they bleed without first locating a sturdy ceiling beam, you'd be absolutely crazy to consider founding your own mafia dynasty until you own a string of casinos and brothels and are deeply involved in money laundering, extortion, and drugs. Since the only people who are in that position are already mafia dons, it raises the question, which came first, the chicken or the cement shoes? In short, the only way to become the next John Gotti is to work your way up from the bottom of a prominent crime family. If you do choose a life of crime, remember that the mafia is not just about guns, money, decapitating horses, and killing people. Being part of the mafia is a big responsibility to take on. You have to earn trust and respect. Location, location, location. As a member of a criminal fraternity, you will be expected to travel, but you should pick one of these 3 cities as your base. Las Vegas, Sin City, is the gambling center of the world. A crackdown on organized crime by law enforcement in the late 90s means that other criminal gangs apart from the mafia have risen to prominence, so you've got even more chance of getting wasted by your rivals. However, with hot summers, mild winters, and abundant year-round sunshine, few places can match up. New York, it's got great restaurants and theater and is home to the big 5 US crime families: Bonanno, Colombo, Genovese, Gambino, and Luchas. If you seek the authentic The Godfather meets The Sopranos experience, this is the place to go. Chicago, the family in the Windy City, generally known as the Outfit, has ruled organized crime in the city since the end of Prohibition. It is home to Al Capone, one of the most famous gangsters who ever lived, and is the single greatest symbol of the collapse of law and order in the United States during the 1920s. Work your way up through the ranks. Start with petty theft, stealing cars, and dealing drugs, or consider going digital with identity theft or cryptocurrency scams. Your criminal activities will soon attract the attention of the local gang leader, who, after a nerve-wracking interview, will invite you to take over the local numbers racket to show you mean business. Your mafia resume should include these essential skills: 1. Aggressive driving, 2. Bat swinging, 3. Menacing glare, 4. Unwavering loyalty. 5. Following instructions, 6. Advanced knowledge of knots, 7 Mediterranean-style greeting, 3 cheek kisses dethrone the boss. Now that you've proven yourself to be a trustworthy goon, it's time to usurp your predecessor and take your rightful place as the head of the family. The easiest and safest way is to wait for him to die of natural causes. After all, he's got a lot of stress in his life, fending off threats to his territory, on the lookout for overly ambitious subordinates. Give it a little time, he's definitely in heart attack territory. 11. Survive an alien abduction. You're driving your pickup truck along a deserted road on a clear and still night, when suddenly you see a blinding light in front of you. Your car dies as several gray aliens start gliding toward you. What should you do? Don't struggle and don't panic. Research has shown that 74% of potential alien abductees who panic end up scrambling up steep muddy inclines or running through impenetrable forests, only to be zapped unconscious and dragged onto the ship. If your new alien friends possess the technology to cross the galaxy, they'll be able to handle your feeble attempts to escape. So resist the urge to fight back and instead try your best to make peace with your fate. Check your human customs at the door. Shaking hands, bowing, waving, or even hugging are all acceptable greetings on Earth. For all you know, though, when it comes to aliens, something as benign as a thumbs up could start an interstellar war. Luckily, you've got some time to study your captors and adopt their mannerisms. Hopefully they're humanoid, and you'll be able to mirror their behavior with relative ease. If you're dealing with aliens drastically different from your own physique, then you'll have to settle for your best approximation of a four-handed salute. Go with the flow. Face it, the aliens possess vastly superior intelligence and technology. So whatever they abducted you for, it's going to happen, whether you like it or not. If you fight the aliens tooth and nail over every fluid sample, it's going to take twice as long and be 3 times as painful. Instead, close your eyes and try to transport your mind to a quiet, relaxing place, like a beach or the woods. It won't stop them from poking and probing you, but it will make it easier. 12. Run a pyramid scheme. Pyramid schemes are get-rich-quick clubs that offer members a large return on their investment, so long as they are able to recruit new members. However, these schemes quickly collapse, and only those at the top make money. So why not be the one at the top? Here's how. Don't reinvent the wheel. If you've ever had a friend reach out on Facebook to try to sell you makeup, energy drinks, or candles, there's a good chance that you've already come face to face with a pyramid scheme. Although they prefer the term multi-level marketing, companies like Mary Kay, Tupperware, and Avon are about as close to a pyramid scheme as you can get. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. When you're trying to decide which multi-level marketing scheme to hitch your wagon to, stick to consumable products that everybody understands and needs. This will make it easier to recruit a sales team to do all your dirty work. Focus on recruiting. A lot of direct sellers get bogged down hustling to sell product, but from day one, it's a waste of time. The real money is in recruiting a team of people below you, a downline, to do the hustling. Why? Because for every $1 of product they sell, you get a percentage. Multi-level marketing companies often set minimum sales goals in order to stay with the program, and this is the only number that matters from a sales perspective. Sell the minimum, and spend the rest of your time recruiting people below you. Keep your team motivated. Even though you're not really out peddling whatever garbage your lackeys are, you need to make them think you are to keep them engaged. Because if they're not selling, you're not earning. Each month, spend a day staging photos and short videos of you hitting the pavement that you can share on social media or directly with your team. Sell an image, not a product. When it comes to pyramid schemes, the product you're really selling isn't a candle or an energy drink. It's the promise of wealth and freedom. Nobody is going to sign up underneath you unless they want to be you someday. Everything you wear and carry needs to be expensive and fashionable, from your clothes to your phone to your jewelry. If you can't afford it, there's no shame in buying high-end gear when you're recruiting and returning it at the end of the day. Enjoy the ride while it lasts. Eventually, your downline will catch on and realize they're doing all the work and you're reaping all the benefits. A few will try to emulate you with their own team, but most will simply give up and move on to something else. Eventually, the passive income will dry up and you'll be forced to start the process over or find a real job. Keep in mind that only about 25% of people who join multi-level marketing companies make any profit. Of those, roughly half earn less than $5,000 annually. 13. Venture into Mayan ruins. If you've ever seen an Indiana Jones film, you know that these ancient structures are extremely dangerous places. Besides the fact that most of these ruins are archaeological sites with very limited access, the ramifications for daring to enter such ancient grounds could be deadly. Seeing as how the cause of the collapse of the Mayan culture is still heavily debated, there's a chance that the temples and other ruins are haunted. Angry spirits and deadly monsters are just as legitimate of a reason for the civilization's abrupt disappearance as an ecological disaster or foreign invasion, right? Where to go? The Maya civilization extended from present-day southern Mexico down to El Salvador and Honduras. Your best bet if you dare to go wandering around the ancient cities is to head off to Belize. Fly into the capital city of Belmopan and then head toward the Guatemalan border. Pay a local to lead you through the Petén rainforest and off the beaten path from the Tikal National Park to some lesser visited ruins of Caracol. You want to find some ancient remnants that aren't roped off and under constant watch. What you'll find, assuming you survive the rainforest trek, you will now be able to wander through the remnants of one of the largest Mayan kingdoms. Caracol contains all the staples of Maya civilization: palaces, temples, sculptures, terraces, and you should be able to locate a number of the society's typical constructions. Try to find an observatory, usually round buildings. The Maya built observatories in order to validate their theories about time as well as celestial bodies and events. In fact, the Mayan calendar, based on astronomical observations, is the basis for many of the now debunked apocalyptic 2012 myths. As far as treasure goes, unfortunately, most of the popular Mayan sites have already been picked clean. If you want to go home with more than just tales of your adventure, you're going to need to go off the beaten path. Discover new ruins and treasure. If you think all of the Mayan ruins have already been discovered, think again. In 2018, researchers used laser technology to uncover as many as 60,000 new ruins underneath the dense canopy of Guatemala's vast rainforest. With enough searching in Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador, you could uncover a previously undiscovered ruin containing small carvings, ceremonial clothing, ancient gold coins, or even a priceless jade mask like the one researchers discovered beneath El Peru Huaca in 2017. 14. Find Atlantis. In 370 BCE, the Greek philosopher Plato wrote about the lost island of Atlantis in two books, Timaeus and Critias. He didn't invent the idea, though. He drew upon the writings of the Greek ruler Solon, who preceded him by 200 years. Plato reckoned that the once prosperous island of Atlantis had disappeared under the sea 9,000 years earlier. Before its destruction, he claimed that it had been a powerful state that ruled parts of Europe and Africa, but the greed of the inhabitants angered the god Zeus, who punished them with violent earthquakes and floods. Scholars have argued that Plato got the dates wrong by mistranslating Solon, and that Atlantis was in fact the Minoan island of Santorini, heavily damaged by a volcanic eruption in 1470 BCE. Bimini Road. One of the more implausible Atlantean theories centers on the Bimini Road in the Bahamas, where in the early 20th century, the psychic Edgar Cayce claimed sunken stone formations were a sunken harbor. Cayce and his followers believed themselves to be reincarnated Atlanteans, so that further explains his argument against the fact that these formations are naturally occurring beach rock, which have been carbon dated to between 2,000 and 4,000 years old. As absurd reasons for visiting beautiful places go, you can't get a better one than this. Cuba. In 2001, a Canadian team of oceanographers placed Atlantis off the coast of Cuba. They discovered strange geometrical formations of rocks spread over 8 square miles and nearly half a mile deep, along with an extinct volcano and fault lines. They say that the complex was above sea level until an earthquake made it vanish 8,000 years ago. The idea that Atlantis may not have been a real civilization is not a new one, by any stretch of the imagination. According to the Greek historian Strabo, Aristotle believed that his teacher Plato had invented the island as a metaphor to teach philosophy. In 2014, the United States re-established diplomatic relations with the communist country, but the relationship is tenuous. You might want to check it out before the situation changes. Take your pick. Other possible locations are off the coast of Cyprus in the Mediterranean Sea, near Indonesia, near Puerto Rico, Sardinia, Finland, the Black Sea, and Turkey. So basically, pick your vacation destination and you'll be bound to find a local site that claims to be the true Atlantis. Fortunately for you, man from Atlantis, The short-lived science fiction TV series that ran for just 13 episodes between 1977 and 1978 is much easier to track down. 15. Survive a plane crash. Your odds of not dying in a plane crash are already incredibly high. The White House National Security Council estimates the likelihood of dying in a plane crash at just 1 in 205,552 over the course of a lifetime. By comparison, automobiles offer a stomach-turning 1 in 102 lifetime risk of death. That said, there's no harm in taking steps to increase the odds of survival, just in case. Be careful what you wear. The ideal travel attire to reduce the risk of death or injury is made of cotton, wool, or other natural fibers. Man-made fibers can melt onto your skin in a fire, causing injury and decreasing mobility when you need it most. Loose-fitting garments can become caught on debris in the event of a crash. Avoid sweaters, scarves, or anything else that might impede your ability to exit the aircraft. Have an escape plan. Pay attention to the safety instructions at the start of the flight. Count how many rows of seats there are between you and the nearest exit so that you can find your way in the dark, or in smoke by touch alone. Statistically, the safest seats are in the rear, where survival rates are 69%, as opposed to 56% over the wing and 49% at the front of the plane. Survive the impact. Pull the seat belt as tight as possible and adopt the brace position. Place your head over your knees, hold onto your calves, and get your upper body as low down as possible. It reduces whiplash and stops you from flying forward and hitting the seat in front of you. Place your feet flat on the floor, farther back than your knees, and wedge something soft under the seat in front to act as a cushion. Lots of people break their legs below the knee on impact. Release the seat belt. Flick away. Don't press. Many people waste precious time trying to unlock their seat belt the wrong way. They are used to the push button release used in cars, and under pressure they revert to this pressing action when they should be unclasping the buckle by flicking the latch away from them. Don't inhale smoke. Hold your breath or wrap a wet handkerchief around your mouth and nose to filter out some of the smoke. Better still, pack a smoke hood in your carry-on. Just a few breaths of toxic smoke can render you unconscious. If you get your eyes and nose at floor level, you will avoid the smoke but risk getting trampled by other passengers. Keep in mind, cabin floor lights are red but turn green at the exits. Listen for instructions, but don't wait for them. Pay attention to instructions from the flight attendants, but if none are forthcoming, don't sit there doing nothing. Those around you may be in shock and will just sit as if stuck in their seats, while others panic and block the exits within seconds. Don't wait. Get moving and calmly head for the nearest exit. Get yourself out. Thank you for listening. There is another volume coming. Subscribe to get notifications as I post it.